Now, the next thing we need to talk about is we need to talk about friction, and friction is really a common component of force pairs. We've already talked about our two types. We have static, and static means not moving, and kinetic means moving. And I know you guys already know this, but I wanted to go ahead and bring it up so you could see it again. And we're just going to learn how. So now we can talk about calculating kinetic and static friction. So your kinetic friction is just going to be equal to this weird U and UK, which is basically your coefficient of kinetic friction and the normal force. Now, something that's really, really, really important. Your coefficient of kinetic friction depends on the material. Okay, the interaction between the two materials. It does not depend on the mass. It does not depend on anything but the type of material. Okay, so if you have sandpaper and something very smooth, that's going to have a different coefficient of kinetic friction than, say, two pieces of sandpaper rubbing against each other. This is going to be really, really important when you guys do your friction lab. One of the questions it asks is, what does the coefficient of kinetic friction on? And people always say mass or whatever, and it's always just the material. Okay, it has nothing to do with the mass or anything like that. The mass comes into play over here. Now, your coefficient of static friction, static is not moving. So basically, you have to overcome this coefficient of static friction in order to get something to start moving. It looks like basically the same formula, except it has the weird US, and that's the coefficient of static friction. Again, the only thing that this depends on is the material. Okay, it has nothing to do with the mass or anything like that. That's over here. Okay, these two people, they're playing that game where you stand like that on the side of the wall and you see who can stand there the longest. And this is much easier to do on this rough surface like they have. If you have a very smooth surface, this game is not nearly as easy.